What's Earl Skakel, Sunday Night Live? I can't, in all honesty, do a collision review because I didn't watch it. I watched two-thirds of Rampage, which I would classify as a B show, more or less their NXT, I guess. Very good opening match with Hook and the man who chest chopped me, Romero. Um, Hook won, but it was a very back and forth match. And then you had a promo with Daniel Garcia. It was pretty good. Um, and then the next match was Chris Statlander against a kind of a thicker Hispanic girl who was pretty good. I mean, you could tell this girl would never be in WWE because she was a little pudgy. And you know me, I like them pudgies. That ain't me body shaming. And then, hey Earl, any Lois tonight? No, no, Lois. I get Lois back around Christmas because Gail goes back home to Pennsylvania. By the way, shout out to Ray Goots, New York comic who went to, I think, a Dynamite in New York and picked me up this very cool AEW show, shirt, AEW shirt. Um, and then I started watching. I think for the, I think it's for the Ring of Honor title between Wheeler Yuta and I think Shibata. Looked like a good match, but I haven't finished it yet. So I was just too burnt out from all the CM Punk stuff yesterday. Apparently, nobody knew but Triple H. Not even if you believe everyone, not even the talent in the ring for the main event knew he was going to come through. So now I think the videotaped, of course, reaction of Seth Rollins freaking out is just part of an angle. Um, I do like the shirt. Once again, I'll stand up. I'm looking pretty lean right now. So that's my friend Ray Goots, based out of New York. Because AEW only they do these only event shirts. Like I picked up a shirt um, at the Full Gear pay per view that was said "Scissor Me" and then had the Hollywood sign. It's very similar to this shirt. And they had a MJF shirt that was in Laker colors. I think also at that New York show they had um, a MJF New York Mets themed shirt. What up? What up? That Chicano dude. I think you might be new to the Earl world. Um, hey, we already got 6 people in here. See, Kevin Brennan, I think when I watched him earlier, he had like 700. I'm happy with 6. Do I wish it was 700? Yes, I do. But we'll get there. Rome was not built in one day. And the journey of 1,000 miles starts with one step. I'd say we're on about the 3rd step. I don't know, my voice is feeling real deep right now. See, we got 8 people. I complain about the numbers, and 2 people come in. I've been asking a lot where my stand-up set uh, disappeared to into the ether. Um, I was made to take it down, unfortunately. So I will have to film another 45 minutes or longer somewhere else. And because I do plan on putting more stand up out there. And that's how you, I mean, that seemed to work for Matt Rife. So I'm just as funny as he is. I'm not saying I'm funnier. I'm just saying we're pretty equal at the least. So I don't mind following people who are successful. If it worked for them, it could work for me. But for it to work for me, that involves you guys. So, any shares or retweets or whatever, that it does help. Even the likes helps. YouTube, like any social media, video platform, it's all about cracking the algorithm. We just lost two people talking about the algorithm. So I still don't know. I know a lot of it has to do with hashtags and keywords, which I guess are one and the same. Um, I notice on TikTok I average about 300 views a video, and no, I'm not bragging. Although I did post a stand-up clip, and it got like close to 4,000 views, which was nice. I think my number one TikTok video of all time was when I was on the Ric Flair roast, and it got like a 500,000 views. Not likes, just views. And I've been chasing that drug ever since. Well, Grant, that's how it works. You gotta tweet out to Netflix. They do listen. They have people specifically monitoring their social media. You know, hey, we've been getting a lot of people tweeting about Earl Skakel or whoever. Same thing with Instagram, but really more on Twitter. Um, so every little bit helps. All I ask is that you don't overdo it. Like one time, someone tweeted at the Comedy Store, "Hey, why doesn't Earl Skakel, the greatest comic of all time, get more spots?" That's not uh, really going to help. Teddy, I think he is new to the Earl world, so we got some newbies tonight. What do you think about Cartoon Network replacing Justin Roland when he was found innocent, voice of Rick and Morty? Well, I think it's wrong. Understand why they replaced him initially because, and this is what sucks about false allegations. I didn't think we'd get into this serious of a talk this early, but I'm very passionate about this subject because I was the victim once of false allegations, not sexual, but I had a girl I dated for about a little over a year. Uh, Started apparently I didn't even hear about these things. People would just tell me, "Hey, your ex is telling people you threw her down a flight of stairs," and you know, I didn't even have a side of my story that I was like, "No," and people would just stare at me, and I'd be like, "No," and I wouldn't call her a crazy bitch or anything, because then that would I think would have made me look guilty, like, "Oh, you're victim shaming or whatever." I didn't do it. Ask her when it happened. I guarantee you she um, has to pause for a second to think of a story. Um, so it sucks. I feel bad for Justin. I mean, that's a huge fucking gig, man. And really, the size of the gig doesn't matter. But and that's why I always say when someone's accused of something, like who was accused of something this week? Axl Rose was accused of, I think, sexual assault in 1989. Hello, Chingley. And it's just now you hear on paper, okay, 80s rocker, millionaire. Yeah, I could see someone raping someone or whatever. But Axl Rose's side should be heard. The girl's side should be heard. And then you make your decision. Like, um, Who else? Steven Tyler, was accused recently of sexual assault in the 70s. Now you sit there on paper and go, yeah, this guy was coked up to the gills, famous band, famous singer of a famous band. Yeah, he probably did it. But, people can lie. But I think most accusers tell the truth. Let me say that. Um, but there are some that, for whatever reason, don't. And it really sucks because once it's out there, people just think of you as being guilty. Um, yeah, but if they were underage, Chingly, it's still wrong. Like I understand women. I can't say women throw themselves at me, but like, uh, you know, the few times they have or whatever, I feel like I'm asking them. Like I had one time a girl. Where was I? I was at Aviator Nation, which is a really hip clothing store uh, in Venice, and there was no checking IDs because it's a clothing store, and they had a performance area in the back, and I had a really good set, and when most of the other comics did not, and this girl was really young, like very young, and you could tell she had a crush on me or whatever just because she saw me in a room full of people doing well or whatever, and I'm in my leather pants and tight, I don't know, Judas Priest t-shirt, and I kept it very brief because nothing was going to happen. So I got to go live more. I mean, I'm trying to go live at least a little bit every day. I'll take a day off here and there. Ted, you're tight with Chad. What happened? Is he missing? That's the funny thing is people think I'm super tight with Chad. We are friends, but we never talk. I mean, I haven't seen Chad in person in probably 3 or 4 years. Um, because he's an East Coast guy. Everyone knows I'm an LA guy. Um, and if he doesn't text me to do his football podcast, we don't talk. Which is why I found. I mean, I try and keep this Ted Dabbleverse light. I mean, I'll talk about it if someone asks me, but that's why I never really understood the hatred I got for my voting on his roast battle. You know, because I hardly voted for Chad. Like, I didn't say, yeah, Chad won all 3 rounds. He killed him. I said Ray won the first round decisively. That's hardly cucking for Chad. I said Chad edged Ray in the second round, which I still believe. And then I said in the third round, nobody won. So I'm going to need a one joke overtime. And like one guy at one point wished I had bone cancer and shit like that. It's just like, that's why I don't talk about the Dabbleverse that much. New York's mayor was accused. Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah. I mean, well, once again, William, I don't know anything about that particular subject, but both sides should be heard. And it's like with like all the stand-up comics the last couple of years who've been canceled and accused. You look at, um, of course, it's easier within the last couple of years to have this discussion because there's receipts. There's Snapchat screenshots and people screenshotting their DMs. And but back in the '70s with Steven Tyler, Axl Rose thing, and I guess '89, and certain comics from 20 years ago, there's no receipts, so you have to literally go, okay, well, she said this, he said that, and then you look at all the stuff in the middle and go, which way does the balance sway? What up, Spurg? Yo, 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 yo. Well, I mean, guys are horny, Chingly. So, I mean, Steven Tyler in the '70s, probably a pretty horned up guy. Probably thought he could fuck any girl in the room, which he probably could have. So I could see him being butthurt about one girl rejecting him, and but maybe he didn't. I don't know. I don't know what FCZ means, Spurg. Lori Matrix, aka Lori Lightning, was a famous underage groupie. Yeah, I mean, there's some underage girls who knowingly wanna fuck I know of a, comic, well, I mean, I'm not saying the Dabbleverse stinks, it's just not for me. I mean, I'm 55, I can't be going online, calling another comic this, and then waiting for a reply, and then going on Reddit. I'm too old for that shit. I don't have the energy. I've got the time, but I mean, I knew, and it's a comic I got to know, and we're still friends to this day. But when she was under 18, she knowingly went after older comics. That was her way of networking. Now, it didn't really work out for them when you look back and look at the gigs she got when she was doing all this stuff. But everyone's different. I am doing well, Mike. Thank you very much for watching. Good evening, Pooter. Ross Incognito, what up? What up? So, 23 people. That might be an Earl Skakel record. So I didn't want to go on when Kevin was on. So I'm trying, even though I'm not in the Dabbleverse, I try and be respectful of people's streams and whatnot. So getting back to your question, Ted, if you're still here, I don't know. I'm assuming Chad is alive. Chad's a pro wrestler. He likes to, like CM Punk. He'll come on MLC. He'll go on Melton, which no one would expect. It's CM Punk style. Uh, yeah, I mean, what up, cool boy? It is a record. Thank you. Yeah, it's the total work. I mean, I hope so. I mean, listen, one day, and I think it's going to be sad when it happens. Someone from the Dabbleverse will die. They will kill themselves because someone said something and it sent them off the deep end. So I think we all should be careful, or I should say, I mean, I'm Dabbleverse adjacent because I've been on Shuley shows. I've been on MLC a lot. I've called into Nelton, so never. I think I used to go in Steel Toes chat, and I've never had any interactions with Carl because it's just the Stuttering John stuff is so boring to me because it's just a limited well to make fun of him on. But kudos to Carl and Shuley, like they've had podcast networks. They've built podcast networks based off of making fun of John. To me, it gets boring. Oh shit, we have a woman in chat, Gina Babino. I worry about Ray sometimes, but well, I mean, you look at Ray, and I don't know Ray that well. I don't really know Chad that well, to be honest with you. I mean, I know, well, 21 views is a lot for me, Cheng. So, but I mean, a lot of the Dabbleverse is just bullying. We do have Catherine. Catherine, I'm sorry, I didn't see you post for a second, so I thought you might have been bailed out. Stuttering John keeps saying that he's performed at the store hundreds of times. I can assure you right now, Peter, he has not um, performed at the store hundreds of times. Although I will say, the one time we met was on a Robert Schimmel benefit at the Comedy Store, and I don't recall his set exactly, but it wasn't great. Like put it this way, it wasn't store quality, and that's not me slamming on him, but I'm a comic snob because it took me a very long time to get past up there, 15 years, around about shade under 15, and so but when you know, non-paid regulars can perform at the store in the main room if it's an outside show, like the Robert Schimmel benefit was an outside show, so he was on that. He didn't bomb, but I don't recall him doing that well. I think he had to go on after me, and I'm not gonna lie and say I was Joey Diaz killing up there, but the main room is a tough room to play because it is very big, and you have to really know how to work it. And so it's unfair to compare our sets because I've been on that stage at that point probably 100 times to his none. But I can assure you, he has not performed there hundreds of times. I don't recall seeing him up there more than 3 or 4 times, and that's not performing that. I've only seen him perform on the show we did. Now, I'm sure he's been on other shows, I don't go to the Comedy Store every night. So, I, I mean, that's pretty easy to fact check. So we have 2 women in chat. So we got 19 guys, 2 women in chat. Thank you, Catherine. Thank you, Gina. He might have driven by the store hundreds of times. Is Holtzman the top comics comic at the store? The mayor here. Hello, hello. Yes, 100%. I would say Holtzman and Don Barros. And then I got to be honest with you. I mean, I would say I'm up there too in terms of other comics coming in the room to watch. Um, I mean, what's hackish to me may not be hackish to other people. Listen, I'm all about whatever gets you a laugh. If I could play guitar, I'd bring one on stage to fuck around. Um, so big and knows how to work it. JC, what up? What up? So it's throwing me off to see 2 women in chat. Usually it's a real wiener fest in here. Um, yeah, I mean, I would say if I had to take myself out, I would say Barris, Holtzman, Jamar Neighbors, uh, and Mary. We've got 3. My God, we've got 3 women in chat. We're breaking records today. Um, at one point, we had 23 people in here, 3 women. That's unbelievable. Earl, try the Lenny and Larry protein cookies. I used to eat those a lot. Um, and Rick Ingram's absolutely in that discussion. The crowd work. Only he and Ian Bagg can do crowd work. I think it is Uncle Strokes. 21 people Sunday night. I mean, I thought that people were going to bed, getting ready to go to work. Um, but I might put that. Speaking of Patreon, and this isn't a way to get a higher level. I might put that set I had to take down on Patreon and take it from there. But see, I think I lost 200 hours of watch time when I had to take that down, which really sucked. Because I think at one point I was like 500 hours away from super chat level or whatever. Which, by the way, I've said this before. When I do hit the super chat level, I will read. I can't read every question. I mean, I can when there's only 20 people, to be honest. But like, I will read a lot of free questions too, and I will never ask you to give me money. I'm going to look at the super chat stuff as you're, you people are fans of my comedy, and I don't even want to call it a donation, but like, hey, here's for services rendered in the past. Um, I hope so, William. What's my favorite sugar-free energy drink? Well, it was Rockstar Diet Fruit Punch, but I don't think they make it anymore. Um, what would happen if that's I get in trouble, William, to be honest with you. Um, because they would think I did it, or so I appreciate. I'm not saying you're offering that, but hold off on that. Um, Apparently, some of the distributors of the Comedy Store specials were like, "This looks too much like a special we had nothing to do with," and they don't want people just uploading shit. But, I see a lot of shit on, YouTube that unpaid regulars are posting of them bombing on that very same stage. So, I would think, given what I've done for the store, helping co-found Roast Battle, and that's made the club money for 10 straight years, that and I'm doing well. It's not like I'll say it again, I'm not, Joey Diaz killing, but I'm doing well consistently for 45 minutes. Um, but well, I don't really I don't I'm not really doing this Cool Boy for the money, but, obviously money is great to have, and, if fans of mine are like, want to say, "Hey, we think you're funny. Here, $2, $5, whatever," I'm not gonna refuse it, but that's not. One of the things I don't like about the Dabbleverse, and I'm really not speaking about anyone in particular, but more of a group, I'll put them all in the same group is just the constant asking for money. It's just gross to me, but I understand it. Like, um, Kevin has created a way for frankly older comics like myself to like you don't have to do the road because doing the road sucks, unless you're a big name. Like Matt Rife is not doing the road; he's doing comedy. He's playing sold out theaters, car services picking him up. That's not the road. What doing the road is like what Melton did. What about 2 years ago with Chad, where he drove from Vegas to Oklahoma to play some fucking B room and um, you know driving to Oklahoma to come back to maybe make a few $100. I mean, I don't know how much Melton gets paid, but like, I would not do that. Cherry Lime's good. An accelerator. I haven't. I don't think I've tried that. I do like Redcon. Um, the problem is with the sugar-free ones, it's so hard to make them tasty. Celsius Cola is probably my favorite. I mean, someone brought up, William, that it could have been Jeff Ross's doing, and I did. He wouldn't go that far. But then I saw him the other night at the store. I'm like, yeah, he probably would. I mean, that's what I told the guy who told me to take it down. I'm like, bro, it's literally my friend Maria, and I told her to dress in all black so she would, because I was told about a year ago that I could tape in there as long as it's not distracting to the paying audience. And as long as it's not like a 3 or 4 camera shoot where I've got people all over the place and wires and shit hanging, that I would totally understand because that's sneaky. Um, but when it's my friend Maria in the corner of the room, literally dressed like a ninja, you can hear her laughing, like you said, and the door guy Taylor, that they're talking the whole time, which is fine. Um, I don't know how anyone on earth could think that that's a special. There's no credits, there's no opening sketch, there's no like, kiss type of opening. It's literally my friend Benji bringing me up. Well, I'll be honest with you, William. I don't know if Ross did it, but it reeks of his um, dirty work. So let me see. Opie has become horrible at demanding money. Well, I don't. I've talked to Opie actually recently. I just say, "Hey, man, I love how you deal with the trolls." But that's about it. The landscape has changed. Got to learn to smelt bronze now. I'm not sure what that means, Spur. To be completely honest with you. Yeah, but Florentine loves the road. There's some comics who love doing the road, and Florentine's a performer. Um, I don't mind Opie. I mean, listen, he's laughing at all of us in his $1 million condo. Um, Yeah, I mean, I'll have to try an accelerator. Well, I mean, someone told me, and I did everything I could to take the store out of any, you know, I mean, the worst joke I have in that special in terms of language is I do a Michael Jackson joke where I'm like, hey, we all remember Michael Jackson, right? And then, the crowd will clap a little bit. And then I'm like, well, it's one thing to be a pedophile, but and Dabbleverse speak a piazza too. I had my friend cut out the F word, so there's no backlash that anyone could have gotten. I mean, I'm gonna be real with you guys. I was literally welling up, hitting the delete button, going, "This is hundreds of hours being." Because I don't know how it works in YouTube. I don't know if you put up a video and it gets like a lot of uh, views and listening hours, and if you delete it, I don't know if those hours go away or they stay because it's still people watch the video. I don't know how that works. Um, well, I mean, I think getting back to Florentine, some people love doing the road, and I think Jim, he's like in terms of how Melton went to Oklahoma, drove, and I'm sure it was a pain in the ass, and Matt Rife being picked up by limos. I'm sure what Florentine does is somewhere in between that, where, maybe the comedy club and I don't know, Schenectady sends him an Uber to do morning radio and whatnot. Yeah, I mean the road's great. When I used to do the road with Rob Schneider, he was playing theaters. it was an insult almost for Rob to do a comedy club, but he's like a name. He's like a top name. I have not heard from Chad lately. He seems to have disappeared, but I would, say, Gina, don't worry, you know, Chad's probably, "Hey, CM Punk came back and people made a big deal, so I'll just take a week off and come back on Melton's," which no one would suspect. Yeah, but I think Fahim's was authorized by the Comedy Store, so, you know, that I understand, but I could understand if I said the Earl Skakel special live from the Comedy Store, but literally in the description, it's the first sentence I said was, "This is not a special." So, yeah, I mean, I don't know a lot about Opie and Anthony, to be honest with you. I never really listened to them, not because I didn't like them, but I was an LA guy, so, I listened to Stern, and I checked out on Stern really when Jackie left. So, you know, that's when I kinda started listening to wrestling shows and stuff. So, I mean, they had a guy out here by the name of Tom Likas who was kinda funny to listen to because he was such a misogynistic pig. He was like, "I've got the abortion, have 4 of them. I've had 5." So, you know. Yeah, but, see, I don't know anything about how Opie asked for money, so, you know, I can't I really can't comment. I mean, well, I mean, like them or not, together as a team, and even they would probably, it's like Gene and Paul. Gene and Paul probably aren't the biggest fans of each other. I mean, when you work with someone for 50 fucking years, there's no way you still get along. Just like I'm sure Mick Jagger and Keith Richards probably don't get along that well, but they're like, hey, the money is in us together. Um, um, See, I never listened, so I'll take your word, William. Do I miss the store pre-COVID? I mean, certainly was awesome. Like the lineups were insane. Like there were even some lineups that I was on. I'm like, wow, I don't know if I should be on this lineup. Of course, I'm kind of kidding, but um, but I think the new book, or she's not the new booker. She's been there, I think, 2 years now. Um, she's done an amazing job. I mean, because people just talk shit. Well, the lineups aren't as good as they used to be. Well, I mean, let's look at why. There was a worldwide pandemic, uh, and you look at the comics that left. I mean, Rogan, Joey Diaz, Theo moved to Nashville. Segura and Christina, they moved. Steve Byrne moved. Josh Wolf moved. Tim Dillon at the time, he moved. Um, and then you had, the second tier, um, I don't know if I'd call them headliners, but name comics, they moved. So, it's not like the booker's putting me up over Rogan, you know. Um, so is the energy the same? Not really. I mean, Roast Battle is still popular, which is mind blowing to me, but it's not the same. It's not as good. Um, like you don't get Chappelle and John Mayer going up there anymore. You literally get like some reality show star up there. Um, but it's for coming out of a pandemic, and I got to be honest with you, I don't miss a lot of people who left. Like the energy is more positive up there now, that's given like me an opportunity. People like George Perez, Kim Congdon, other people. So I mean, they have zanies and. I think when I did the Ric Flair roast in Nashville, I had the owner of some theater say, "Hey, you should do a special here," and all that stuff. So, I don't necessarily know about the scene, but Zanies is a top club in the country. They treat comics very well. So, uh, but I know a lot of comics move there, so it's got to be pretty good. I mean, they all can't play Zanies, but it's like a lot of musicians move to Nashville for the session work. So, but at the store, I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, I mean, it's the most talented group of door people I've ever seen there. I mean, every one of them is funny. Um, whereas before they'd pretty much hire anybody. Um, I think a lot of what I liked uh, about some of the people who moved, like some of the Kill Tony comics, they walked around the store like they owned the place. And it's like, no, when Kill Tony's over, your time is up at the store. Like, grab a seat and watch. So I don't miss like those people. Um, and a couple people moved to New York. Ben Jones, what up? What up? Uh, so I mean, it's pretty positive there now because a whole new wave of comics are up there. Really funny fucking people. Steph Tola, Laura Peak, um, me, and others. Well, I think one's called the DC Loft. No, that's Maryland. Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know if that's one of them. I've heard of the DC Loft the most, even more so than the Improv. Um, but there's a lot of good young comics at the store that you will hear of. Stephen Curry. So yeah, Jason Rouse. He's not a Comedy Store guy. Yeah, I think he does more of the road, but he does worldwide. Like he'll go to Norway and Sweden, and I think he moved to Austin. Um, so there's a lot of funny comics still here. I mean, dude, you got to understand, like the Comedy Store is like Canada is for hockey. There's a lot of good hockey players in Canada, and I could quit going to the Comedy Store tomorrow. People wouldn't be sad for a second because there'd be 10 people to take my spot. So I think that's even with Rogan leaving, and all those big names, the store moves on. You know, um, but I think those lineups of like it'd be like Jeselnik, Rogan, Theo, Joey Diaz, Ian Edwards. I mean, those days might be gone, but what can you do? They moved. Like 24, we have a new record, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much. That makes me feel good. See, most people in the Dabbleverse would be embarrassed to have 24 people, but I get it. And I won Santos in the house, but I also haven't been streaming for that long, so I understand why my numbers aren't necessarily Dabbleverse numbers. Um, yes, let's have a party. Let's have a party. Let's get this stream to over 100 views tomorrow. That's a lot for me, which was the bummer because my comedy set from the Comedy Store, I think when I took it down, it had 500 views, which that might not seem like a lot, but when my average streams get like 100 or so views, and my comedy set got quadruple that, I felt really good about that until I had to hit the delete button. I think because it might have been Chrissy Mayer. They were talking about. I might get this wrong because I really don't know. Um, they were talking about Stuttering John, and someone said he dabbles in comedy, and then somehow uh, that became the Dabbleverse. Well, yeah, I mean that's the problem though, and here's the problem with Kill Tony. I understand why the show's very successful. People love that humor. It's roast battle. It's you know piling on some young open micer. Um, but here's the thing: you get um, an audience from it. But now instead of doing 1 minute, n- you know, like that guy Hans Kim, I don't know anything about him. I've done one show with him. He was nice to me, so no beef with him. Um, But now instead of doing 1 minute, he's probably gonna get asked to headline because he's got, like, 60,000 followers. Because I think he went on Rogan with Tony or something. I mean, I don't follow him that closely, and, obviously, you get a following from that if the interview goes well, and, now he's gonna have to do 45 minutes to an hour. Now, maybe he can. Like I said, I don't know a lot about his comedy. Um, I'm really curious as to who you are, Peter Brennan. That's a deep cut. Dating Bushman's daughter. Hello, Lambda, Lambda, Lambda. Um, oh yeah, I'm good. Lambda, Lambda, Lambda. I'm like I do enjoy doing this, and it's not that hard to do an hour. Like Melton and Brennan do 3 or 4 hours. I don't know if I could do that. I think I would. Now maybe I could if there's like a couple hundred people, talking to me. But like, I'm happy with my progress. Um, no, I don't think it's Opie. Like, if you know about Bushman's daughter, like, that's an LA comic for sure. She was very pretty. Um, I haven't seen her around in a while. R.I.P. the Bushman. Brennan keeps pushing himself to go as long as Milton. I don't want to. I want it to be funny for an hour, and then, I found like I listen to podcast chunks in hour chunks. Like I'll listen to MLC for an hour, and then I don't know, do what I got to do. I'll come back for a little bit, maybe watch the end. Melton does 4 or 5 hours in his sleep. I don't think I could do that. Even if people were super chatting me, and I'm Jewish, so you think I'd go on forever. Um, yeah, yeah. I mean, like when Lois comes home, I mean, she has to be walked like every 3 hours. So, um, and I take her for really long walks too. Like I'll take her to Beverly Hills and back, and that's a 2 hour. Sometimes I've walked her to Century City and back. That's a 3 hour walk. But she's not as healthy as she used to be, so we'll see we'll see what happens. But yeah, I just had a comedy friend of mine move to Austin this weekend, and I could tell she's amazing. Like she's got endurance like I've never seen before. Um, yeah, I don't do the clips things because I'm not savvy at how to do that. I'd rather talk for an hour to you guys and then say goodnight. I'll be on tomorrow. I mean, I know that it's also good. I think part of the reason why Kevin is so successful is he's on, every day at 1 p.m. my time for his time. And, so 12:59, I better get to my computer and listen. Um, I mean, Lois can walk. I remember the all-time walk I took Lois on was during the pandemic. Me and Chandler walked her from. I basically live on the corner of Santa Monica Boulevard and San Vicente, so you can look this up. Me and Chandler walked her to. We walked up to Sunset. That's not that big of a deal. That's like a tenth of a mile up, but it is all uphill. And then we went east on Sunset to Highland, and then went up from Highland and Sunset to Hollywood Boulevard and walked maybe towards or I base things on what I know, and what I know is I get not bored, but I have ADD. So after an hour, I check out of anything, working out, sex, hello, um, anything. Game today, I watched the first half, which is about an hour, and then I paused it, went back to the rest of the game, and then paused the next game, and so you know, but I might be wrong. You people in chat, I mean, I'm sure some of you listen to MLC, and Earl's on. We'll go over there. 26. That's a new record. I don't want to be like Kevin and take a picture, but actually, I will take a picture. Let's see. I don't even know where my phone is. I'm gonna take it. Oh my God, 29. We're doing it. We're doing it. 20. I just did my first Kevin Brennan. Take a picture. Who knows? Every week it could get bigger. 29. It's a new. This isn't even really an inappropriate Earl. It is a 30, 30. Well, this is wild now. Let's take it. We're gonna do that here. Uh, this is unbelievable. This is too much. I'm overwhelmed. Thank you to the 30 people listening. You've made my night. I'm gonna work out and all Earl wrestling. Yes, someone if someone can make me that an all Earl wrestling AEW mock up, I will pay you for your time. Oh, we're down to 29 now. Damn it. See, I don't want to be like that where I look up, oh my God, we lost three, we gained four. But that was thank you very much for the 30 people. Well, I do have a very short attention. Yeah, I know. I really should just keep talking about my attention span. But I'm notorious. Like even when I'm at the King game live, I'll watch. I'll watch the first period, then I gotta walk around, and I'm like a little kid. Yeah, hit the like button. Hit the like. Hit the likes. I'm just kidding. Now I'm just. I mean, we peaked at 30. Now anything else is gravy. All Earl wrestling. Nick, work on that. I'll send you to my guy Andrew Stoke, and you guys can do a collab. He used to do and still does my cover art for Inappropriate Earl. Bad Thoughts by Chad Z. Now I'm gonna assume that's not Chad, but um, thank you guys. See, this is fun, and I'm not even making money, and I don't care. And I'm Jewish. I love money. I mean, where else can I buy my wrestling dolls and my Sting gloves? 50 by the end of the week. Well, maybe. I mean, I think I do have to like maybe Sunday nights. What time is it now? I think I started this at 8:30ish. So maybe Sunday nights at 8:30. It's a regular show. And then yeah, exactly. But if you can make a few bucks on the side, it's all right. Um, but it's we big drop now. We're down to 20, but we peaked it at 30. I'll take it. Um, you know, I think this will be fun for me. We're not even talking about wrestling. I mean, the initial goal was to, um, uh, but you people do make me laugh. I don't laugh at much, but when I get a question from Ross Dogs, Tony Dogs, thoughts on that whale, Lisa Lampanelli, like who puts that in the chat? Like, I mean, um, we're going crazy here. Do I have a Bray Wyatt action figure? No, I don't. I wish I had it when I met him. I would have had him sign it. Uh, I was just talking about. Yeah, I should have sold at 30. Damn it. I really was, man. But see, this is what I love about you guys. 19 likes. That's definitely a record. You guys are all rooting for me because it's tough being an older comic. I'm not gonna lie to you. I experience ageism like you wouldn't believe. Um, So I think people root for me. I'm like Samoa Joe of comedy. Like Samoa Joe broke late. He was an older wrestler when he popped. I mean, he's been famous for a long time, but he's really, I'm going to start with 20 likes. We have viewers now. I don't know if that's a good sign. Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm trying to do is get more than the Dabbleverse people. Uh, I want to get wrestling fans and hockey fans. I was thinking about maybe I'll do a live watch of a Kings game, but that's not going to be interesting, I think, to too many people. But if you crack the hockey algorithm of fans, maybe I could do a live post game hockey thing after every game. For 15, 20 minutes, and then it breaks off into um, you know crosstalk. Yes, I am Samoa Joe, and Kevin is absolutely CM Punk. Have you seen Dolph Ziggler stand up? Yeah, he's pretty funny, to be honest with you. Like he's obviously charismatic. I've done shows with him. Um, you don't perform in front of 50 to 100,000 people, or at least 20,000 people every week, and not know how to work a room. That's all wrestling is working the crowd constantly. Um, so Yoko the Clown's cartoon stunk. I never saw it, to be honest with you. Yeah, I mean, this is like just a cool place to hang and talk, and it's all Blake Griffin's pretty funny, to be honest with you. They're probably about the same. I don't think I'm going to get in the next Ghostbusters because I think most of them are done now by Jason Reitman, and because I have beef with Jeff Ross and I know they're friends, I don't think that's going to happen. But I knew that going in when I thought if I start talking about how I got fucked over, I'm going to lose some friendships who are people who are friends with both of us. But I'm fine with that. I mean, I thought Yoko was funny on Stern originally, but then after that, it's kind of one note for me. I don't know anything about Yoko and his wife. Gina Babina wants DG to cosplay as Peter Venkman. I don't know who DG is, to be honest with you. Gina, goddamn it, Jeff. I don't see. I'm a little lost with that crosstalk. New Godzilla movie. I saw the last one. What was it? Godzilla, maybe 2018, 2019, whatever that Godzilla was, because my friend Haley had worked on it. Um, yeah, Peter, I want to know who you are, dude. DG is from Joe. Oh, see, I don't know anything about the Joey C world. I've done one show with Joey C. Haven't talked to him since. That was on Mir and Chow's thing. Um, so how bad was Josh Nasser's stand-up? I want to know who you are, Peter, but I don't want to know because the mystery would be ruined. Because I love the inside. You have dropped two deep Comedy Store references. I'm going to assume most of the people in here don't know who Bushman's daughter was or Josh Nasser. I've got a feeling who it could be, but I don't want to know. There's this really funny account on Twitter. It's still up. There is a parody account of Jan Michael Vincent, and if you know who Jan Michael Vincent is, um, it was really funny because he would tweet has Jan Michael Vincent, and then one night I'm at the Comedy Store, and the person comes up to me and goes, "Hey, just so you know, I'm Jan Michael Vincent on Twitter," and it hasn't been the same since. Like, there's an account called Stand Up Batman on Twitter. You guys should all check it out. Everyone thinks it's me because they talk a lot of shit. But I put my name behind my stuff. The I mean, it doesn't really matter where he moves. Um, Let me see. Gina Ross is flirting with you. I mean, I saw all the old ones. My favorite was Godzilla, Son of Godzilla. Um, what's the K1 warning show? I don't know what that means. Yeah, yeah. I don't want to know who you are, but I am curious. But if you know who Jan Michael Vincent is or was, I should say, the Twitter account's really funny because they would tweet stuff out like, "Hey, here was my Sunday. Drank money and made cash off my loser fans." It was just really funny to me. Yeah, I mean, I used to see him oddly enough at King games. I don't know if he was a hockey fan. I'm assuming he was, and he was just like so fucking bloated, and he looked really, really awful. And it's like I'm not gay, but he was a good-looking guy. If you go and watch Big Wednesday, the that's like the epitome of what an American man should look like. Just tan, flawless skin. He was the Brad Pitt of my generation, and just booze and drugs, took him down. It's really sad. How many pull-ups can you do? I maxed out. I used to be my top pull-up number ever was 34. And I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I haven't lifted weights in 7 years up until about a month ago. And some of the stuff I've been able to get back pretty fast. Like I put up 225 on the decline the other day for a few times. Now, my height of bench pressing, the decline, I could do 225 about 12 times. I only did it like twice. So I got a little ways to go in terms of that. And then I tried to do a pull up. I thought I did 34 in my heyday. I should be able to knock out at least five. I couldn't do one. So I gotta. I'm actually going to the gym after this. Hopefully, I'll build up to it. Earl, have you ever watched Jan Michael Vincent's movie called Buster and Billy? I have not. Never even heard of it, to be honest with you. Well, I mean, my form toward the end was pretty wonky. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, like the first 20 I could do, like they would count in a competition, but then I was like swinging to go up um, but pull-ups and push-ups are really, if you don't have access to a gym, if you can do pull-ups, they're like the perfect exercise because you obviously do the back. It's amazing for your arms, your front of your shoulders. I guess the back when you're at the top, you're squeezing the back, the traps too. Kind of like pull-ups. I think I don't really believe him because he was pretty big. Walker, so got that body he has or had maybe a little of both from just doing push-ups. Tell us more about Naked Faye Ray. I mean, there's really not a lot to tell, to be honest with you. They were large and in charge. I mean, he was a good actor. I mean, if you look at Big Wednesday, it's a great fucking movie, man. Uh, you know, uh, William Cat. I mean, that's the one of the last episodes I did of the Bad Guys with Chad was interviewing William Cat. Yeah, Robert Englund had a very small part in it. Red Brown, Michael Talbot, who played Switek in Miami Vice. Here's a funny story. I don't know what you guys know about 37 likes. Wowzer. Hold on. We got a wowzer. 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 That is whoa, we're doing it. Down to 35. I shouldn't just look up at that. Um, but Red Brown. So Michael Talbot, who also played the stunt car driver in Used Cars, who they paid to give Jack Warden a heart attack. He was also a cop in the second Clint Eastwood movie, or maybe it was the first Clint Eastwood movie with the monkey. Um, Any Which Way You Can or Every Which Way But Loose. He was in one of those as a street cop, uh, or CHP cop, and so I'm at my ex-girlfriend Ann's job. She used to work for a money manager, and I'm sitting there in the lobby. She's finishing up, and then all of a sudden, in walks Michael Talbot, and he looks at me and goes, "Hello," and I look at him and go, "Oh no, it's Hog." That was his name in Big Wednesday, and it, like, took him a second to be like, "Huh?" I'm like, "Hog from Big Wednesday," and he looked at me like I was the biggest fucking freak. But then he was nice, and he gave me two autographed pictures. So, oh, okay. Well, I mean, Robert Englund, I also think in Big Wednesday was the voiceover of, the North Shore, the swell gets up to, he did all the voiceover stuff. Because Big Wednesday was like a four-part play. There's the party years, there's when they all go, or a three-part play, I guess. There's the party years, and then when everyone goes to Vietnam, and then Big Wednesday. Also, the great Sam Melvin is Bear. He was in a show in The Rookies. That's how I first became aware of Sam Melvin. But he died pretty young. Kind of sad, But he was great in that. Um, I mean, oddly enough, Big Wednesday is probably my favorite movie of all time, and I'm not a surfer. I just love the movie. And because I think I have a fond memory of going to the Man National in Westwood, which, if you are not familiar with the LA area, the Man National was a huge theater in Westwood. All the big movies were there, like Jaws and Star Wars and stuff like that. And we go, like, I knew nothing about the movie business, but I think we went opening day, uh, like a 2 p.m. show. Is me and my two brothers who are to this day very good surfers. Um, and we were the only three people in the movie theater. So it was just like, oh, this isn't good. And of course, the great story about Big Wednesday was that they all went to film school. It was George Lucas, Spielberg, and John Milius, and they all were such good friends that they said, "Hey, let's trade points in our next movie." So Lucas's movie was Star Wars, Spielberg's was Close Encounters, and Milius's was Big Wednesday. So I think Milius got the better end of that deal. Um, so yeah, I don't know anything about Meanie or her. Apparently, Kumar or whatever his name is lives in New York, high rise. See, I don't know. Some crosstalk here I don't understand, but feel free. You should check out Big Wednesday. It's a great movie. Gary Busey, a prime Gary Busey. Um, like young, like with it. Trying to think who else was in it. Jerry Lopez, the surf legend, plays himself. You can also see him in North Shore, where he plays Vince. Um, North Shore is a great movie. I actually did a benefit show at the Comedy Store for Maui, and Laird Hamilton um, donated the surfboard, so I got to go to his house. But he just left the surfboard in the driveway. I wanted to like talk about North Shore with him. I wanted to just go up to him, shake his hand, and go, "Want to buy some pictures, Burkhart?" That was his name in the movie. Um, it's just funny that two of my favorite movies of all time are surf movies, and I have literally zero interest in surfing because I'm not very. I have skin cancer. You could probably see it. This is breaking the fourth wall. Here and here, I had two scars removed. Um, so I don't get out much in the sun anymore. I love Yaphet Kotto. He's a great actor. Yeah, but you should see the house he lives in, man. He lives. Well, I don't want to dox him, but he lives in Malibu. I'll just say that. That's not really a surprise, and he lives on a hilltop with the prettiest view I've ever seen. And yeah, I think the last thing he's done was that docu-series, I think on HBO, The 100-Foot Wave. And I hear it's pretty nice. But interestingly enough, I don't think he likes talking about the North Shore, the movie, because he's never at any of the, they have get-togethers because it is a very cult-like movie. Um, well, I used to be really tan back in the late '80s because I had a girlfriend who worked at La Beach Club, which was a tanning salon. And I probably know why I got skin cancer because yeah, he's definitely, I think he's very good with his money, and also his wife is pretty proficient. Um, but they had this thing at La Beach Club. I think it was called the Hex. Now, most tanning beds at that time were like a half hour, and like I said, I'm jonesing after 20 minutes in those things. I want to get the fuck out. But the Hex literally was like quadruple the power, and you only had to stay in there for 7 minutes. And I was like staying there for 20, and I'd walk out. At one point, I had a George Hamilton like tan. I mean, I would go to the beach and then go to the beach club. Um, I mean, I'm not saying I didn't do that. When I worked at the Sports Connection, and if you ever want to see what that gym is like, you can watch the John Travolta movie Perfect. That's the gym they used to film like 80%. Then the other 20 was in the West Hollywood Sports Connection, which ironically enough is the gym I'm going to tonight, but it's not called Sports Connection anymore. It is what's it called? John Reed Fitness. They just opened it up. It took them years to clean it because when it was 24-hour fitness, I would go there late night and it was like a fucking bathhouse. It was like out of control. Uh, there's also a cool 24-hour fitness in the valley that, ironically enough, the 24-hour fitnesses, they're not open 24 hours. Only the one in the valley is. And all the gay stuff I've seen in the steam room at the West Hollywood 24-hour fitness, and I stayed, I never left once. I was like, "Hey, fuck you guys. I was here first." One night I'm in the steam room at the Sherman Oaks 24-hour fitness, which is in the Sherman Oaks Galleria, the famous, I don't know if it's still there, but, the mall part anyway, and, it was a co-ed steam room. So I'm in there by myself, and I think I've got my headphones on, and this hot chick in a bikini walks in, and I'm not saying she wanted to fuck me, but, like, she was throwing the vibe out, and I got so uncomfortable, I walked out. Can you imagine that? Like, all the stuff I saw at the West Hollywood Club and a hot girl who's, like, at least vibing with me, is, like, flirting with me, and I don't even think I said goodbye, I just walked out. Um, let's see, that's how I felt when James Gandolfini and Robert Williams died. Oh, yeah, Philip Seymour. I mean, these guys have demons, It's sad. Yeah, oh, 100%, 100% that's my favorite Richard. Oh, see, I mean, I know who Richard Christie is, but I don't really follow those guys like Sal or Richard Christie Shuley's really the only one because I worked with him on the Ric Flair roast. He's really the only guy I, kind of know from the Stern world. Here's the crazy thing, when I had Rick Overton on Inappropriate Earl, he was really good friends with Gary Shandling, and in the middle of the podcast, if you go back and listen to that, Rick Overton's iconic in the LA comedy world, and a very, good, character actor or actor, whatever you wanna call it. He played the booker of The Tonight Show on I'm Dying Up Here. It's one of my favorite moments of the show is when I walked in for the table read, and I didn't know he was on the show, and we just looked at each other and hugged, and, like, everyone else was like, "Who the fuck are you guys?" Um, and then in the table reads for I'm Dying Up Here, I don't know if it was alphabetical. I think it was in order of importance on the cast, so, of course, I'm in the last seat, and the head of Showtime is sitting right next to me, like, the head. So I'm just staring holes in my script, trying not to fuck up the one line I had. Meanwhile, Melissa Leo would literally not look at her script because she had memorized it already and would look at it in the table read. Um, so, I mean, the only other thing I've seen um, on that level was I think Michael Fassbender. The first year we did Roast Battle in Montreal was unaired. It was like a pilot season. Jason Reitman did a live table read of The Big Lebowski, and everyone's got their scripts. And Michael Fassbender, I think he'd memorized the whole script, and he would look at the actor. He wouldn't look at his script, I was like, damn, this guy's an actor. Um, have you ever seen Soft White Underbelly on YouTube? I don't know. No, I have not. I know, isn't that weird, William? I can literally be in gangbangs with multiple people and but one hot chick in a bikini who's like flirting with me. I was like, I gotta get out of here. But when Rick Overton was on my podcast, he had gotten a text saying Gary Shandling had died, and it's one of my favorite moments on the podcast. Is there's like a real heavy 5 minutes after that because I mouthed, "Hey, do you want to stop?" And he's like, "No." Um, I liked King Kong in the '76 remake. I think they used the Twin Towers as the Empire State Building. Um, and even though I have an affection for Fay Ray because we were neighbors for a while, I think my favorite, I guess, gorilla movie is the original Mighty Joe Young. I could put the end of that on right now, and I would cry. I don't cry at the end of King Kong, either one, but I cry every single time with the original King Kong, or I'm sorry, the original Mighty Joe Young. Now, the original King Kong, my mom was actually friends with. I think the villain in that movie, the guy who was always trying to make money off of King Kong, I think his name was Bruce Cabot, if I'm not mistaken. So I do have a affection for King Kong. Yes, I was neighbors with Fay Ray in Century City, and I had to walk her downstairs when the Northridge earthquake hit because we lived on the 19th floor. And I have not seen anything with Melissa Leo in it, um, other than I'm Dying Up Here. We had a weird relationship on I'm Dying Up Here. I was standing in line with her at lunch one day, and she's like a serious method actress. Like, she was in the mindset of Mitzi, but in her brain, obviously she was Goldie. Um, so I just tapped her on the shoulder because we had just done a scene kind of together, and I'm like, "Hey, you're doing a great job. I'm a Comedy Store paid regular, and you really are getting the Mitzi part down." And she just looks at me and she starts yelling at me like, "I'm not fucking Mitzi. I'm Goldie. You can't ever call me fucking Mitzi again, okay?" And I thought she was kidding. And then, I kind of picked up she wasn't kidding. And then at the end of the first season, there's a scene where we're all in the basement of Goldie's watching, I think, Santino on the couch. And I'm holding up the rabbit ears. And it was a long shoot. I mean, that final day of shooting for season one was literally like a 16, 17-hour day. It was excruciatingly long. And in that scene, I'm holding up the antenna ears, and I mean, that particular scene probably took 3 hours, so my back was killing me, and she started giving me, like, a massage. She's like, "Bend your back this way, it won't hurt as much." So, and then we became, set friends. We haven't seen each other since. I saw her once at the Comedy Store, and she was very nice. She gave me a big hug. "When are you up?" I'm like, I'm, up in a few hours." She's like, "Oh, that's past my bedtime, but I'll see you soon." And that's the last time, I've seen her. Um, Johnny Weissmuller. I actually know one of his cousins. Um, the Son of Godzilla is awesome. I cry at the end of that when they walk off into the sun after battling the monsters. Oh, she's a great actress. I mean, being in those table reads with her was literally like a live acting class. Um, well, no, I think I wouldn't say she's the B word. I just think that she is a method actress. It's like when Christian Bale lost all that weight for The Machinist. Like she does stuff like that. And Mitzi was known as a hard ass bitch. So I think she was in that mindset. I mean, she would come to set like, "I'm a bitch. I'm gonna fuck over someone today." Getting into the role. So I think off set, I guess you'd say. She was very nice to me. I think I was one of the few people she liked on set. I mean, it was not. I'll be honest with you. I've never really said this before. Because the ratings weren't great for either season. I think most of the main cast was surprised it got a second season, and I'll assume it got a second season because of the Jim Carrey affiliation, and that project was like a labor of love for him. I think it was not a happy set. Like not a lot of people were happy because the ratings weren't good, and I think the marketing was a little off. Like the original billboards were of the guy passed out, I guess on stage, uh, beside the mic stand, and you didn't know if is this a sitcom, is it a drama? I think that no, she wasn't trying to seduce me. Um, and then, the number one complaint I got from my friends. Now I was barely in it. I'm not trying to act like I was a main cast member or anything, but I was well liked. Uh, but I just think the marketing of the show was confusing. Like most of my friends would come up to me and be like, "Dude, it's not that funny. The comedy on it's pretty bad." And I'm like, "Well, it's supposed to be. It's a drama." That's how the comedy was back then. It was, like, hacky and, like, misogynistic and, women back then were treated like shit, and, um you know, so, I don't know, I just and I was bummed out because yeah, it is a drama. I mean, I see that drama every night, like when the older comics at the store see a newer comic getting better spots. There's that one scene where Ari Grainer sees the black girl go up for the first time and she's killing, and the camera zooms in on her face, and you can see Ari's expression was like, "Oh fuck, I'm gonna lose my spots to her." I see that every night, um, and sometimes that's been me. Um, but I mean, the world of stand up is it's not a funny place, really. It's pretty. Uh, it's a sad world. Um, have you ever met Melrose Larry Green? I've had dinner with Melrose Larry Green. I like him, but it gets a little old after a while when you're at the Rainbow and you're having this not a serious dinner, but you know, the waitress comes over to take our orders, and he's saying to the waitress, Baba Booey," and like I want to get my food first before you start fucking with the waitress. Yeah, it's very cutthroat. It's very I think I paid, but it's a very I think the second season especially because they brought in a really talented comic named Brendan Lynch, and he's very dark and dry. Um, and I thought the writing was better in season two, but just for whatever reason. I mean, I think season one we went on after Twin Peaks. And season two we went on after Ray Donovan, and it was just I don't know. It just never grabbed the numbers, and even Dave Flabat, who was the writer, he's also the writer on Tulsa King. Um, he came up to me toward the end of season two, and he's like, "Hey, I really like you, and I want to get you more lines, and everyone seems to really love you." And because I was like an unofficial consultant on the show to the actors who weren't comics. Like I had a scene once with Jake Lacey, where I was doing comedy, and then I bring him up, and uh, he asked me before we shot it, like, "Hey, how would you do this? Like, you've done this a million times. Like, I don't know what I'm." It'd be like if I went up to him asking for acting advice. So everyone loved me. So Dave Labatt's like, "I wrote this scene for you where Cassie, Ari Grainer's character, is so desperate she fucks you." And the network said, "Yeah, we don't want her getting passed around like that." But the funny thing is, that's how comedy really was in the '70s. So that would have been fun for me. But what are you gonna do? Yeah, I mean, yeah, 100%, Nick. I mean, absolutely. In terms of the theater symbol, and yeah, Rogan. Like what he did to Mencia, he was standing up for his friend who had a joke stolen, and he's a comics comic. Oh, what's wrong with Larry Melrose? No, I don't. I haven't seen him in years, to be honest with you. Oh, see, I never watched Louis C.K. So uh, Melissa's the lead actress on I'm Dying Up Here. She played essentially Mitzi. Did Melrose burn through his inheritance? I have no idea. Uh, to be honest with you, lives in a tiny little room. Oh man, you're really going for it now. My name's Michael Fitzpatrick. Hello. I'm gonna, if I could do a psychological analysis of you, Peter, I'm gonna say you're definitely involved in the Danish and O'Neill world, like the Bushman reference, the Michael Fitzpatrick reference. Like, I want to say who you are, but I don't want to. I'm pretty sure I know who you are right now. Yeah, and I'm not gonna lie and say if they put that scene in I'm Dying Up Here would be on season 4, but, like, that just goes to show you, like, you can't have a movie about '70s or a TV show or a movie about '70s stand-up in this new Me Too and Time's Up and cancel culture. Like, that was the opposite of what '70s comedy was. I mean, you can burn through your money like, "Pew, pew, pew." You can burn through your money pretty easily, man. I mean, I lived in a condo, well, where Fay Ray was. Um, who is Peter? I don't know what you're talking about. Um, where Steven Adler from Guns N' Roses was basically broke, asking me for money every time I saw him. Um, yeah, I mean, season three, selfishly, I think I would have been in it more. So, and not a lot more, but I probably would have had speaking lines in almost every episode. Um, and I think the great thing about the longevity of the show is that, you could have followed comedy into the 80s, the boom of the 80s, the kind of the sitcom era of the 90s, the bust of the early 2000s. I mean, like, there's so many interesting periods, and you could have brought in new comics every season. So, like the guy they brought in played Richard Pryor. He was great in the few episodes he was in, and then you could have brought in someone to play, say, Eddie Murphy and Martin Lawrence and Eddie Griffin, that era, Dice Clay, Kennison, and then, the 90s, you could have brought in, the comics who were playing the 90s, and then you could have, done seasons about the Joe Rogan era. Like it literally could go on forever. But, if the ratings aren't there, like I said, I think most people were surprised that we got season two, um, let alone I mean, just season 1 was, it started out good. The first 2, 3 episodes, I think, got really high numbers and then a gradual decline. But if you look at the cast, I mean, an amazing cast. I mean, maybe I misspoke, Chingling. I don't know if it could have gone on forever, but it could have been like The Wire, like 7, 8 seasons. I think Eddie Griffin was more a '90s guy, but I was just naming names. You could have had that natural progression. You could have had an episode where I think Mitzi told Seinfeld he wasn't funny or whatever. Like, that could have been a storyline, and um, you know, but the cast, what a talented cast. I mean, if you look at the main cast, they've all gone on to work. Um, I mean, Clark Duke is amazing. Michael Oregano is amazing. Eric Griffin constantly works. Santino constantly works. You know, I mean, obviously Melissa Leo works. I think the girl who played Clark's, I don't know her name, but the girl who played Clark Duke's girlfriend, she was on the CBS show True Lies. Um, and then, I mean, I'm not comparing myself to the main cast, but, I work a fair amount, and all the, Alfred Molina played RJ Styler's agent, and RJ works a lot. I mean, there's a lot of, yeah, I know you're not John Little, but maybe, dude, maybe you are. Who knows? I have a feeling I know who you are. You're more into the Danish and O'Neill world, uh, and that's fine. That's the original Dabbleverse. And Rick Overton, Andy Kindler. I mean, it was really an amazing. The table reads were so fun because like the table read. If we would have filmed the table reads, that could have been like a great podcast because like everyone's killing. And probably the biggest laugh I've ever gotten was the very last episode we did when we're talking about the strike. And I think Santino had a line, and then I had a line of "We're still getting our free gruel, right?" And it fucking crushed in the room. Like Joey Diaz leveled the room, and I think the head of Showtime says to me, "Who are you?" Probably a career highlight for me. Not that I've done that much. Interesting. That's a deep cut. The Comedy Store. All right, let me ask you this, Peter Brennan, just to prove who you could be. What was the real title of the Comedy Store newspaper? Let's see how good you are. Um, at the premiere of season 1, the head of Showtime is I'd like to thank Melissa Leo, I'd like to thank Andrew Santino, Eric Griffin, Al Madrigal, he works constantly, uh, Ari Grainer, and last but not least, Earl Skakel. I didn't even know he knew my name. So it was pretty, like, amazing to have that happen, and the best was, um, he said it, and a Comedy Central exec who fucked me on Roast Battle was sitting right next to me. And I just gave him a look. Hold on, my TV randomly just came on. I've got to change the channel to get Silencio. Um, so Michael Aragano, he was great. Um, he was in 24 as well, and yeah, great guy, really sweet guy. Him and Clark Duke were, always on set talking. I would talk with Clark Duke a lot about pro wrestling because he's a big pro wrestling guy. So yes, Paulie Shore, he was not an undying pair. The girl, Stephanie Van Owen, she played, I think, Melissa's daughter. She was very cool on the set. She wasn't in it all that much, a couple episodes, but she was always very nice. She works a lot. I mean, the whole cast works. Um, and it was just the crew was great. I mean, just everyone got along, but it wasn't. Jake Lacey's awesome. Here's a funny thing on that last day of shooting when Melissa gave me a back massage. The last day of season 1, I think. Um, like I said, it was a very long day, 16, 17-hour days or day. And me and Jake Lacey were standing next to each other just waiting. You do so much of that on a film or TV set. And, I didn't even know Jake that much at that time. And so I whipped out my dick and I pulled it around my wrist. I'm like, "Hey, Jake, you know what time it is? My watch is frozen." And he laughed. And then I heard action. How funny would that have been if you got that shot in? So ever had any paranormal or UFO experiences? Are you asking me? I've had ghost experiences at the Comedy Store. Absolutely, that shit's true. And I don't believe in that stuff, to be honest with you. Like, I believe in it. Like, someone in chat the other night was like, "Do you believe in Bigfoot?" I'm like, it's possible, but I don't think it exists because we would have seen one by now. And I don't mean that fucking film from '67 where it's clearly a guy in an ape suit. I'll tell the ghost stories on the next episode, but I mean, you can hear, like if you go in the main room, especially with the lights off, you can hear footsteps, when I know there's no one in the room. Um, I mean, one night we were all in there, I don't know, 2 in the morning. We used to hang in there really late. Me and Don Barris would do the band in the original room, like basically karaoke and lip syncing, whatever you want to call it. And people would stay for that, and then we'd all go in the main room and just hang out. I mean, one night Saget was in there with us telling us stories, but Saget was not with us this night. So we're all on the right side of the room. If you've ever been into the main room, there's a back row on the right side of booths, about 4 booths, and it's probably 20 of us in there. And it's about probably 3 in the morning. So there was no one in that room when we walked in, and all of a sudden I heard a glass fly across the left side of the room and it broke, and there was no one there. So that's my one ghost story. Um, yeah, I mean, I'm not saying they don't exist. Oh, yes, it used to be Ciro's, which was owned by the mob. Um, well, I think, and listen, the Northwest, which is primarily where they think if Bigfoot does exist, is there. Um, we would have found it's a big, thousands of miles of forest, but like, we've never found a body. We found those footprints, but those can be faked. Clearly, you could just make a plaster cast of Bigfoot, and there's a to benefit from people believing there's Bigfoot. buy their trinkets or, watch their documentaries. So I personally don't believe that Bigfoot exists. Um, I wouldn't go back to where he saw him. Zero Supper Club, yes. I've heard Sam Tripoli tell comedy store ghosts. So yeah, I mean, it definitely exists. To be honest with you, um, so and I'm not a total believer of ghost or what, but I do somewhat believe in spirits. I guess you'd say, like the condo I live in. I bought it. Um, I guess the previous owner died of AIDS. I've never once had a creepy experience in terms of like his ghost. I don't know if he died in the condo, but um, but I'm a big energy guy. Like when I used to do comedy at the Queen Mary, not the gay bar in the valley, but hello, the boat, the big boat. There used to be a comedy show there, and one night the show was running long, so I thought I'm gonna walk around here and like just check out things. So I'm literally just opening doors. There was really no security at this place. It was still a functioning hotel. But, like everywhere I'm at, I'm well liked, so people just let me wander off into the ether, and, I stumbled upon the engine room, and I'll never forget the feeling when I walked in there, a heaviness that I've never felt in my life. Like, even I've never felt a heaviness like this, even at my parents' funerals, like and apparently a bunch of people drowned in that room when the boat was, sinking or something, and you definitely feel it, like, I've never experienced this anywhere in my life. So, well, yeah, I did get a good deal on the condo. I think the family just wanted to sell it because I think I offered like, here's the crazy thing, and I'll end with this because I do have to go to the gym. It closes at midnight. Um, I offered, I think, 400 grand for this condo, and the guy comes back to me and goes, "How about 371?" I'm like, "Yeah." I think the family just wanted to get rid of it. But here's the crazy thing: I have a landline, and it's the same number, I just kept the same number that I guess he had. So I guess he was a drug dealer. So for like 6 months after I moved in here, I would get calls. What he would do apparently is he had some kind of system. My balcony's right there, and he had like a slide where he would slide the drugs down and they would throw the money in. So I would get calls at like 3 or 4 in the morning. "Hey, you got the package?" Like, "What the fuck are you talking about? Is this Paul?" I'm like, "No, this is Earl. Lose the number." Yeah, I don't fuck around, dude. I kept the guy's number. Yeah, it was very Wonderland-like in terms of that setup. Someone asked me, by the way, I forget who did it, so I do apologize, if I'm still interested in my Eddie Nash documentary. I mean, I've lost a lot of enthusiasm for it. Because to be honest with you, nothing's gonna beat Michael Connolly because he's very, very good. I mean, if you've watched Bosch, Michael Connolly is no joke. So, oh, okay, Chengling. Sorry about that. I mean, not that I have that many people in here, but like I do. I'm obsessed with Nash as well. I actually saw a YouTube thing the other night that was saying that Eddie Nash is somehow involved in Robert Kennedy's assassination, which kind of makes sense because Nash was Palestinian, as was Sirhan Sirhan. And this guy said there is evidence of a meeting between Nash and Sirhan Sirhan. Um, so, well, it's not that many people. I think at the peak we've had 37, but you know, I do apologize. I really do appreciate everyone who's in chat now and earlier. Well, I mean, the guy, it was basically a conspiracy theory he had, but he says he has proof that there is evidence of a meeting between Eddie Nash and RFK. Now, with all the research I've done on Eddie Nash, I started to think, that does sound like something Eddie Nash would do. but I'm not sure how he and Sirhan, I mean, just because they were Palestinian doesn't mean, you know, all Palestinians know each other. I think Eddie Nash at one point had 25 to 30 liquor licenses at one time. Now, I know from friends of mine who have bars that, um, like now, a liquor license can be two, $300,000. Back then, I don't think there was much, but like to have 30 of them, like that's probably, I'll guess between 20 grand and 100 grand back then. A lot of payoffs, like, you had the Starwood, which is a big, obviously, Chang, it's a big music club. The Odyssey, which was kind of an all ages club. I think Phases in the Valley, which was another all age club. He had gay clubs. I don't know where they were. I'll assume West Hollywood. He had Seven Seas, which was, I think, a strip club. Alibaba's, which was, I think, a strip club. And I think where Kimmel is filmed, he owned that property. So, he had a lot of businesses. And apparently, like the Odyssey, when they started losing money or the heat got too hot, he would just torch them. So, yeah, I mean, cocaine, he was the guy in LA if you wanted cocaine. You said Nash. Give us a few what, Ross? I'll give you one. Oh, you mean ghost stories? Or those are really the only two I had, to be honest with you. I know that, I hate to admire Eddie Nash, but you think about it, he comes out here from Palestine, virtually no money, and it starts a hot dog cart on Hollywood Boulevard. He probably was selling coke out of it, and then, um, yeah, I mean that doesn't surprise me. Uh, well, I mean, I remember when I asked an '80s rocker who had played his club before. I said, "Hey, I'm putting together this loose documentary about Eddie Nash, and I know you played there back in the day. Do you have any stories?" And he just shot me a look of like, "I don't want to talk about it." I think Nash died in like 2014, so this was, I think, maybe 2016. And the fact that this guy was too scared to talk about a guy who's already dead, like, I don't think there's a guy like that in LA right now, or girl. I mean, he had his mitts and everything, you and just the story I told. I had someone contact me recently from a network who I'd done a show on. They're like, "Hey, yeah, I remember you talking about Eddie Nash. Why do you want to do a story on him so bad?" I'm like, "Oh, I just find it fascinating." And we got into the story, and I'm like, like he was such a scumbag that apparently he knew girls like cocaine, so they'd come to his house, and he wouldn't charge them for it or sell it to them. He was such a freak. Apparently, he would take a huge dump, and then he wouldn't wipe, and he would have them lick his ass clean, and if they did it, he'd give them cocaine. Like, that's when you know you're a junkie. Yeah, I mean, John Holmes wouldn't rat on him. So, I mean, like, he still has influence today over people. And that was always a stumbling block for my documentary on Nash is, to make it a good one, you'd have to get people who either performed at the Starwood or worked at his other clubs or worked at the Starwood. I do believe the manager of the Starwood is still alive. I want to say his name is Gary Fontenot, but they're either dead or they don't want to talk about it. So, it would be tough. But my angle was like, hey, let's get Gene Simmons. He said that's where he saw Van Halen play the first time. Let's get Nikki Sixx. He loves to talk. Let's get someone from Cheap Trick. Let's get Billy Idol. Let's get someone from the Cars. I mean, the Starwood was like crazy in terms of the bands and the music history that was there. I mean, you had punk bands, you had metal bands, you had ska bands, you had, the Rolling Stones. I don't think the Stones play there officially, but they would go there to, probably get drugs and, pussy, and like it would just be why, be like that documentary I saw in Studio 54. Yeah, I mean, he probably would do it. Mark, Liberace's lover. So, but the problem is there's just so few people left from that era that, uh, they probably want to move on with their lives. But the Liberace's lover probably like is still he's probably jonesing for attention, and he would probably do it. I don't know if that's a big enough name, but if you could get the famous musicians who played there to talk, but I don't know. Gene Simmons is in his 70s. I don't know if he's. I mean, he strikes me as the type that would you, you know be an open book about it, but you know. Uh, I mean, Eddie Nash is maybe the most infamous criminal in LA history, because the recent person who contacted me for the documentary, um, she's like, "Well, what's your selling point? Why would people want to watch this?" Which is, I guess, the point of all TV shows. Tell me why people would watch this. And I was like, "It's got everything: sex, drugs, rock and roll, murder, even a little loose connection to the OJ trial because the lead detective were Tom Van Adder and Philip Lang. No, Tom Lang. No, Phil Van Adder and Tom Lang. And there's a great, um, I think if you look up Wonderland Murders crime scene, Tom Lang is going through the house, showing you all. It's the original crime scene video, showing you the blood, and it's fucking horrifying. So I just think it's got everything that even younger people would be like, "What the fuck is this?" But Michael Connolly beat me to the punch, and also William, like you say, everyone's doing coke, so who knows how their memories were? I mean, Nikki Six would probably just be bullshitting, making up stuff, but still, it's Nikki Six. People would watch it. Yeah, Rob Halford can. He still uh, can sing. I've seen them recently. I can't I mean, it's definitely it would have to be marketed. Like, Tiger King was interesting because of the way Netflix marketed it. Now, am I saying a documentary on Eddie Nash is going to be that big? Probably not. But I think if you marketed it in the right way, it could be good. Oh, dude, I mean, look at Chang. Look at the YouTube video of the crime scene. You can't watch it. It's pretty. It's graphic. You see, there's blood everywhere. It looks like um, someone took a fire extinguisher and sprayed blood all over the place. So, and plus you got John Holmes, the biggest and literally the greatest porn star of all time. I mean, if you go up to anyone and say, "Name one male porn star," John Holmes is going to be the name. I mean, there might be a few who name Ron Jeremy, but maybe a few like modern kids might name like Lexington Steele or something, TT Boy, Vince Foyer, Tom Byron, Peter Forkworth North. Why do I know only the male names? I don't even watch porn, even though it looks like I produce it. Hello. All right, you kids. We've done an hour and 45 minutes. I love you all. This has been an epic Earl Skakel live stream, topping out at 37 people. I'm going to put this up on Twitter right now. If you could retweet it and like it, you've done enough tonight. You've done enough. But thank you, Chang. Always a pleasure talking to everyone. I really mean that. I appreciate every single one of you. Um, and I probably, it's my goal this week to do one every day this week, but I probably will do one tomorrow night on CM Punk's debut on Monday Night Raw, and then we'll break into something else. Thank you, Gina, and Catherine, and Mary for listening. And so Monday Night Raw for me is on from 5 to 8 my time. So maybe an hour one tomorrow night at about 8 o'clock my time, 11 o'clock your guys' time. Yes, the Legion of Skakes. Maybe we'll do a Skake Fest. No, I'm just kidding. I'm way too lazy to do that. But Earl Skakel over now. Look up. I'm gonna put up a stand-up clip sooner than later. Not at the Comedy Store. So I thank you guys for those of you who retweeted and shared that. I do appreciate it. It was all for naught, but I thank you anyway. Sunday night, Earl Skakel. Follow me everywhere. EARLSKAKEL. I'll see you guys this week. Thank you.